Previously on Libel the Bible.
It's revealed that Scott is an emotional black hole.
Rusty is an overly sensitive dandy who needs constant reassurance.
We talked about that last episode?
No, just thought I'd mention it.
The Israelites break the first commandment. Again.
Yahweh commits mass murder. Again!
And now, episode 40 of Libel the Bible. Let's get the show on the fucking road, man. We got places to be. I mean, come on.
Hey, so this is Libel the Bible, this show that's all about Rusty. I'm Scott. Don't even know why I'm here.
I'm Rusty, and we're like an hour into fucking around trying to like get recording up and running. But honestly, I don't want to focus on that because that's going to be some boring ass shit.
Yeah,
that's just going to be me going off on you. And, like, I don't think the audience needs to hear that one.
Again.
Well, usually it's because, like, it's comedic and it's funny. But now it'd just be, like, angry Rusty, like.
Really? More angry than
off.
when you showed up complaining? Like, we didn't get up and jump in, like, the moment you walked in the door? That better than that? Worse than that?
Oh, yeah. That would make, yes, that would. Yes, in comparison, that would have been jovial, Rusty.
Why don't you tell everybody how cranky you were after sitting in traffic on the way here?
I don't know. What's the Scoville scale for my crankiness? I was at 100. I don't know, out of 1,000.
Yeah, you were pretty fucking rude, man. You took it out on me, man. You took it out on me.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely brought up an issue I could have, like, addressed in a better way, but, I mean, I'm just a product of my generation. I'm a, you know.
No, that's bullshit. We're the same generation. I don't fucking do that.
You don't do what?
Let shit build up for 39 fucking episodes and then explode on the 40th episode. Like you did on the 35th episode or whatever episode that was.
Well, no, you don't. Okay, so you don't do exactly that thing. Right, you don't do exactly that thing. You do other things. You allow other build up and express it in other ways.
None of which has been revealed on this podcast, I don't think.
Well, what do you want me to tell you? You're more professional than I am.
No, I'm a better human being than you are.
And by the way, I didn't blow up at you on the podcast. I did it off air. You're the one that brought it up on the podcast. Right. You're bringing,
you know what?
You're bringing the viewers into our drama and then making it seem like it's my fault, like I'm the one.
You know what I think I'm doing? I want people to understand that this isn't just Rusty on podcast. Rusty's an asshole off air also. That's like, this is not an act.
What are we talking about today?
I don't know. What's going on in the world?
I don't know.
Talk about traffic. Let's talk about traffic, man.
I don't want to talk about traffic. Why do you want to talk about traffic?
I want you to get it fully out, man.
No, I don't want to vent. Let's talk. Let's talk like human beings.
Let's talk.
I'm standing, as you could see. I'm not sitting down.
And you're peaking higher than I am now.
It's like I'm peaking already. It's like a modern office workstation, you know? Like I might sit down, like, you know, sometime into recording, but for now.
That's how I work. Like my real job, that's how I work standing up.
You have a standing desk?
Yeah.
Do you?
Yep.
Do you have like drafts of like architectural and engineering like drawings in front of you? Do you look at those?
It's funny you say that because I actually have some on a corkbord behind me. I got some technical drawings.
How big is your desk?
Like
can you spread out like can you unroll like Mr. Brady's like architectural drawings?
No. Actually, you know the desk is where we used to record up in that room.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the only place I have is like I only have like 3 square feet to like put papers, but I don't usually use paper too much.
Okay.
And standing's the way.
You stand at that desk.
I have to, yeah.
Okay. You should get a treadmill.
Spent too many years. Yeah, I should. You know what? I'm gonna be on a treadmill in 2 weeks, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta go for one of them nuclear stress tests, man.
That's not the way to go, bro. Like, No, I mean, go get your stress test for sure. I'm not giving you medical advice. If your doctor told you need it, don't listen to me. That's not the way to go, man. And make sure you get rid of those fucking, booster shots. You don't want those either. No, when I say that's not the way to go, I mean the treadmill like in your office. Because honestly, if you're going to get cardio, the worst way to get cardio is a stationary cardio, like a stationary bike or a treadmill or an elliptical. You got to be like out doing shit. You know what I mean? You want to get some cardio, going like ride a bike or
from the cops.
I mean, you could do that too. I don't like to run from the cops. I like to confront cops.
Yeah, because you're white. You can get away with it.
I got to tell you, man. So I'm white, but cops have busted my balls my entire life.
You know what? Because you're not content enough in just your white privilege, like minding your business, getting away with shit here and there. You put it on display. You're like, fuck them cops. I'm gonna do whatever I want.
You know what's interesting? I reject the notion that I have white privilege because I'm a Jew who emigrated here from the former Soviet Union.
They don't see that when you're driving by. You don't have a big Star of David on your car.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody rolled out the red carpet for our arrival.
I didn't say they did, but on the surface, you appear normal.
Nobody looked at my resume and said, "Oh, Rusty Belopolsky." Oh
sorry,
shit.
Sorry, that's your business. Yeah.
So,
but you tend to flaunt your shit, man. Maybe you take it a little too far.
Yeah. Like what?
I kind of remember we went to a Pink Floyd concert and one of our friends, we were smoking weed at the concert, but it was back in the 90s, so it wasn't really that generally accepted. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yo, man, keep it down, man. The security guard's over there. And he looked right at the security guard within earshot range.
But that wasn't me.
It wasn't you. It wasn't you. Hold on. And he goes, fuck that guy. So you know what that guy did? He came over and grabbed him and pulled him outside. He ended up being able to stay, but I think he gave him dude, man, don't disrespect me like that. He flaunted in his face. Didn't you do that shit in Washington Square Park, too? You were smoking right in front of the cops?
With that guy, too. With the same guy that got pulled out of the Pink Floyd show.
So maybe you got to check, your,
I don't know. I guess the expectation is, we're in a stadium at a rock concert. It's not the first rock concert that's ever been had, and it's not the first joint that's ever been lit at a rock concert. And I guess the expectation that our friend had was he's not going to bother me we're at a Pink Floyd concert.
And if he expressed that to us, that would be great, except he turned to him and goes, fuck that guy. See the difference?
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
What else are we going to talk about?
I don't know. What else has happened in the world?
I feel like...
I guess I got something to talk about.
Great.
I hate to say this, man. I hate to be the one. But, Florida?
Yeah.
Florida.
Mm-hmm.
What a bunch of fucking sheep. Did you see them all pile onto the fucking highways, running from their homes because the government told them it's in their best interest? What the fuck are you running from? Climate change? Weather? The fuck out of here. You know what's going to piss me off when it's all over? Mm-hmm. They're going to hire literally hundreds of crisis actors to act like floods happened, houses got knocked down, grandma is lost, the puppy's lost. And then they're only going to do that to get fucking taxpayer money from other states to pay for something that didn't even happen.
I mean, it's almost like they're snowflakes, Okay. Sheep.
I know.
Just following one another.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
I praise that one guy you see on the news that's always going in the wrong direction. The roads are packed and there's one asshole that left the iron on and he's going home.
It's funny how most of those people are always prepping, but yet when shit goes down, they're not prepared.
And I think you got to think, this part of Florida, I didn't realize the whole west coast of Florida didn't often get hit. I thought Florida was so narrow there that when a hurricane hit, I thought it hit everything.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently that's not the case. Yeah, it's this ain't your first rodeo. Mm-hmm. Why are none of these houses reinforced, rebuilt, raised up? Why don't they do shit like that?
Yeah.
You rebuild the same way? I don't know. Listen, I'm not there. I'm not saying people haven't.
Let's be real. white people are lazy. Like they don't want to work. You know what I mean?
Okay, but they're not hiring white people.
Oh, white people are poor too, by the way.
Oh yeah. Well, not in
No,
Florida.
listen to me. White people. The thing is, we have a skewed view of reality living in New York. This is the New York bubble, right? For us, white people are affluent because in New York, for the most part, white people, at the very least, are middle class.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no poor white people in New York. Even like white trash. You know, they mostly live in like private houses, and that's
true.
like money that they're sitting on.
That's true. Yeah.
You go like into any other part of this country, and there's some po motherfucking white people out there. You know what I mean? That's why like people in the suburbs of like major urban centers, like Long Island, the suburbs of like Los Angeles, they don't understand that there's really poor white people in the middle of this country, and they don't understand why those poor white people vote for Republicans, you know, and we've talked about this, and I brought up because neoliberal democratic policy has failed those people. But when you live in a city, you don't see poor white people. You know, poor white people don't live in cities.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. I mean, not fair enough. It's not fair at all. I was actually driving down the West Side Highway today, and have you been to the park that they built in the Hudson? They sank all these concrete pillars.
We talked about it. Yes.
Oh yeah.
It's
So
called like the Island or something. Little Island.
Yeah. And I was looking through. I was going down past Ground Zero, and like the old Verizon building. It looks like the Ghostbusters building.
Sure.
Right now, it's surrounded by these stainless steel mirrored skyscrapers. It looks foolish.
Yep.
Right. And I was like, yo, the money is insane.
Yeah.
The money's insane.
Well, and you know, those aren't even like office buildings. Like the tallest buildings always used to be office buildings.
Yeah.
Now they're residences, right?
Yep.
But they sit empty. All those buildings sit like, I don't know what the percentage is, but they're over 50% empty because really what they are, they're money laundering buildings. Like they get built, and Chinese businessmen, Saudi businessmen, Russian oligarchs, you know, actually they're all oligarchs, I guess, Chinese oligarchs, Saudi oligarchs. It's a way for them to launder money through New York real estate. So these buildings sit empty, and meanwhile, homelessness, I think we're at the highest level of homelessness now that we've ever been at. A large portion of that has to do with the fact that we've got a new breed of homeless now on the street. Before, the homeless used to be like people who either had drug addictions or falling out with their families. Well, no, that's the point. They didn't have mental issues. They were just addicts or living on the street for like whatever reason, independent of mental health. But then a lot of services have been cut for mental health. And so now what you have is like hospitals that used to house mental health patients no longer do. So now, in addition to the old breed of like homeless, now you've got crazy like homeless like wandering the streets.
Oh, that would probably halfway explain the uptick in crazy crime in New York.
Yes. Well,
I'm not talking about regular crime. I'm talking about crazy crime where people just like throw chairs at people sitting in restaurants for no reason.
No. Well, crime is up across, you know, every city, every state. Everywhere.
No.
Crime is up.
Only in places run by libtards, man.
Economy is tanking.
Only where the libtards
Tanking.
are.
We're basically on the precipice of like, you know, a depression. We're in a recession. You know, like economists will tell you no, but it's like you can't look at the stock market alone, and even that's crashing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just look at real wages. Real wages aren't keeping up with inflation, even though like they're blaming inflation on, well, after the pandemic, everybody wanted more money. So no, that's not why. You know, you're collecting record profits like corporations. It's all fucking mascot.
Yeah, I love how ExxonMobil and BP have recorded record profits.
All corporations.
But they're raising their like, come on.
All corporations.
It's Biden's fault. Biden did that.
Yeah. Amazon, record profits, Facebook.
insane.
Just they're all experiencing.
No. Something like Amazon, I can understand. People are home, they're ordering shit like crazy. I don't mind that. I'm talking about like oil companies that they jack their prices up because of supply and demand issues, as they say, or supply chain issues. But then, how did you make record profits?
Well, I do mind Amazon because yes, we were all sitting home, but it seems like they're collecting record profits, but they're not distributing it to their employees. Well, I think there's something to be said for forced collective bargaining, you know, and I think there's something to be said for revenue sharing.
I was going to say
this
some profit
country.
sharing.
I think there's no reason why workers shouldn't have some kind of collectively bargained profit sharing, and whatever it is now is not nearly enough. Like a guy sitting on the board of Amazon, you know what I mean, who collects, let's say, 2,500 times more in salary in a year than like a guy who works in the warehouse, he's not 2,500 times more important to the company than the person in the warehouse.
And board members don't actually do shit, right? They just vote on things the company should do. They're not technically employees.
They make decisions, of course. Yeah. Like the board makes decisions, you know.
So it seems like like all these big names that are on boards just seem to go from board to board. It's like a club of like ultra elite, like I don't know what you call those people.
Well, yes.
When are we going to start calling American rich people oligarchs? We always refer to foreign people as oligarchs, but don't we have them here?
Well, there are some communities, you know, on the left who are calling them oligarchs.
Nice. Why just the left? Are they not oligarchs to people on the right?
Well,
isn't an oligarch is an oligarch is an oligarch, regardless of what my political views are?
The right tends to prop up business. They say the problem isn't business. They say business helps. They say business, you know, it benefits everyone. It trickles down. The benefits trickle down to people, even though like it's been proven that that doesn't happen on any level. Rich people keep their money. Like they send it offshore. Remember the Panama Papers?
I do not.
Oh, really?
Oh.
So I think it's something.
That's not even ringing a bell.
It's something you should look into. So maybe 5-6 years ago, like a huge expose came out. It's called the Panama Papers, and it basically tracked banks in Panama where people from all over the world were putting their money. So like Putin and like world leaders and corporations. And it's basically they were like laundering their money through Panama.
Didn't Eddie Van Halen have a song about that?
And by the way, it's not surprising that you haven't heard of it. You know what I mean? Because, you know, it's more important to report on the fact that Nia Peoples is having like marital issue with her husband who's cheating on her.
Did you say Nia Peoples? Is she still alive?
Yeah, Nia Peoples. Oh, you don't know what's going on? Her husband is
I know nothing about important stuff or pop culture.
So her husband is the basketball coach of the Boston Celtics, and he's banging like someone on the staff.
Nice.
You know, so now this is like all came out in the public this week. So he's been suspended for a year, and like everyone's on Team Nia because she's like a queen. You know what I mean?
What was she on? Fame? Like what was?
Nia Peoples is Boys in the Hood, bro. She was Friday, Boys in the Hood. She's like
wasn't she on like a 90s
She was in Soul Food. No, not Soul Food. What's that movie with Mos Def where he plays like an engineer in a recording studio? Like maybe Soul Food it's called, something like that. Nah, she's like she was in the Ice Cube movie. Are We There Yet? She played his wife.
Yeah,
she's been like in a million movies.
Though. She wasn't in a TV series?
Oh, you know what? Maybe I'm fucking up the name. You're right. Nia Peoples, right. I'm fucking up the name. She was in Fame. Who am I thinking of? I'm thinking of, what's that from Boys in the Hood, man? You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Come on.
If you say the real name,
Nia Peoples. Nah, man.
Phoebe Cates.
Nah. Go ahead. So,
go ahead. What?
I'm looking it up. You filled some fucking airtime while I look.
Right. Okay, so
Nia Long.
Nia Long. Yeah, I don't know who fuck Nia Long is.
Yeah, of course you know who Nia Long is.
You got a picture of her face?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know her.
Yeah, of course. She's been in a million things.
Yeah, look up Nia Peoples while we're at it.
And Nia Peoples was hot.
I thought she was pretty hot. Nia Longstaff,
Yeah, she was hot. All right, Nia Peoples, yeah.
That's her now?
Yeah. So
she's gotta
for
be-
those of you at home, Scott wanted me to look up,
They heard it.
a visual like picture, and then he examined the visual picture and approved of the visual
I
picture.
looked at the picture.
Yeah. All right.
You got nothing nice to say about anything.
Just shut the fuck up and let's move on already,
All
man.
right,
How
let's
much
move
longer
on.
can we talk about
Let's
it?
move on.
So, yeah, so Neil Long. So
As you keep talking about it.
so that's what the media wants you to fixate on.
Right. Yeah, let's not keep it.
That's
yeah.
the situation.
Exactly. I'm too busy going to work. I can't be worrying about the Panama Papers.
Yeah. And one of the reporters that wrote about the Panama Papers died in her car from a literal missile strike. It's absolutely
Is it one of
accurate.
those new American missile strikes? Have you seen these new missile strikes that don't cause like collateral damage? Because it's not
No.
really an explosive. Like if you're driving in your car,
Yeah.
they've got like a missile like that's loaded with knives.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's like some like prehistoric like trebuchet weapon.
Yeah.
And like it hits your car and like these knives fly out and go straight, so they kill the intended target and don't
This is
blow up
real?
and kill a bunch of civilians. Yeah, it's
Wow.
real. I mean,
Wow.
well, fact check it, but listen, I don't know if it's like fucking regular knives, but it's
This wasn't an American missile. She's like from Eastern Europe or something like that, and one of those oligarchs like had her like taken out. Or it was just a tragic accident where
it's missiles
she just-
hit.
yeah.
What the fuck? Imagine being so rich you don't like somebody, you can call it an airstrike.
How about the epidemic of fucking people falling out of windows in Russia or falling down stairs or,
How come I haven't heard anything from the Second Amendment rights people over here about that school shooting in Russia that happened a couple of days ago? You heard about this?
no.
Yeah,
Well, I
some
did
guy-
hear about the school
Some
shooting.
guy in Russia shot up like 13 people and then killed himself. I was
Yeah.
surprised they say, see, the problem's not just American.
Oh, I see.
You know?
Yeah, well, they were too busy getting flooded in Florida,
Oh, yeah, more fake news. Yeah. I want to see how this fake news turns out.
So, by the way, I was thinking about it, and Ron DeSantis is like low-key like liberal. He like sent all those migrants to safety right before the hurricane, you
That
know?
was very nice of him.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
He sent them to a nicer place than any of his people.
He sent
live
them
in.
right to
Yeah.
safety.
Yeah, that was a good job. You hear all that's coming out like they had brochures and shit. They totally lied to these people to get them on the plane.
By the way, how about this fucking gaslighting? Oh, so if the liberals get like, migrants, they can't keep them. They have to ship them somewhere else. Well, it's like, well, yeah, you sent them to like a beach resort town. You know what I'm saying? It's like if we sent migrants to like Fire Island, like there's limited space on Fire Island. It's a beach town. You know what I mean? There's no like hospitals. There's no schools. There's no doctors during the off season.
There's no jobs that you promised them.
Yeah. So it's like, no, it wasn't the fact that like, listen, I'm not saying maybe those liberals on Nantucket were disgusted by all those migrants. I don't know.
I don't care.
But the bottom line is you can't keep the migrants on Nantucket or whatever, Martha's Vineyard, because it's not set up
no
for a
infrastructure,
year-round
yeah.
like infrastructure for that many people.
I love the news conference. It was Ron DeSantis talking with a bunch of people behind him, all white as ghosts. And they were talking about, well, you know what? I just diversified Martha's Vineyard. You know what they say? Diversity, there's strength, right? And all the people behind him like, yeah, you own them libtards, yeah.
Well, in fairness, you don't know that they're white because DeSantis is Latino, right?
Sure he is. It's like Ted
DeSantis-
Cruz is. Like Ted Cruz is and Marco Rubio is. That's how fucking Latino they are.
Well, I mean, they might not present as Latino, but they're Latino.
Yo.
Latinx.
When Rubio...
A term 98% of Latinos fucking not only do not want, they hate. Like
Nice.
they 98% hate.
Nice.
But like white liberals, they will keep cramming that
course.
shit down everyone's
Of
throat.
course.
Latinx.
Marco Rubio
Latinx.
posted
And by the way, you know who I mean by liberal. I mean pieces of shit like Hillary Clinton and Nancy Pelosi, that's what's considered liberal now.
Okay.
So in the nomenclature of modern politics,
If they're liberal, what the hell is Bernie Sanders?
he's a progressive.
Oh, what's AOC?
Progressive.
Okay, I got a new chart. I got to get a new chart
Yeah.
because it seems like a lot of people.
Well, no,
identifying as liberals
Bernie's
right now?
Bernie's a socialist, and AOC is a socialist. That's like in the modern vernacular.
Because I look at some people now, like some elected, and don't ask me to name names, but I'm like, wasn't that dude a Republican? He's now identified like as a liberal, but his views haven't changed.
No.
He was a Republican 20 years ago.
Well, the world has moved right. And you can look anywhere in the world and see leaders, right-wing leaders taking over.
We talked about that last time.
It's terrible. Italy.
Well, you know what? I'm going to tell you this. The roots of misogyny may be deeply rooted in this book we're analyzing.
The Bible.
Yeah.
Well, last week we talked about God only then realized, oh shit, I didn't set up some rules like if a woman gets an inheritance, like what should I do then?
But that was pretty progressive of him. The problem was pointed out to him, and he did agree. They can keep their family name, as long as we understand that was a man's name at one time.
Okay.
But so he was pretty open to it.
So you want to get into it?
Yeah, let's get into it.
So we're going to get to Numbers. We're going to do Numbers 28 through 31. Numbers 28 and 29 are pretty much, I felt like, either regurgitations of shit that we talked about in Leviticus or completely contradictory, like...
I saw it as completely repetitive.
It was just the same shit as... Yeah. So Numbers 28 was the daily offerings.
Right. So the Lord said to Moses, which answers the question. He's alive. Remember I was questioning whether he was going to be alive?
Yeah.
I guess you were right. He's alive.
Right away.
He's alive. I'm glad they cleared that up.
First sentence. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying...
Then he starts about the offerings of fire and his pleasing odors... And take care to offer to me at the appointed time, morning and twilight offerings, unblemished lambs and bulls. So I'm just going to say this. This literally is a regurgitation. Mm-hmm. This is, and what I'm glad they did it again, because this time I finally got it. Basically, he's telling his servants, his people, the Israelites, how to feed him on a daily basis. That's all this is.
But why does he have to keep repeating the same?
Because they're stiff necks. They're idiots. I'm sorry.
Haven't they written any of this down? Like, is none of this written down?
Well, I mean, the writings of the time, he came down with tablets.
And don't the priests know this? Like, didn't he establish like a whole set
Didn't
of
he kill a bunch of them? Aren't they all dead?
A lot of people are dead.
24,000 last episode. So I'm really getting pissed off at the Israelites because
I mean you've been pissed off at them.
Yeah, since I've been reading this Bible on this podcast. Yeah.
Well, I mean you never heard of Israelites
True.
Except for the black Israelites in Times Square.
Yeah, I worked with a couple actually.
Yeah,
they weren't on soapboxes.
Well, I worked with an Israelite also, but the black Israelites in Times Square are not the typical. That's like a whole separate sect. So it's kind of like Christians. There's like even amongst Israelites, there's like all varying degrees.
Are those the ones that got the amplifier and they're up on their soapbox?
Yeah, those are the ones that look like African Bambaataa.
Yeah.
They like hate like white people.
Yeah, the Albee Square Mall. I don't know if we talked about this. Remember back on Fulton Street back in the 80s?
Of course.
And like I used to walk past. And it was basically like kill the white man.
Kill him until he is dead.
And I'm just saying, hoping the person behind me is not taking him seriously because I'm going to buy sneakers.
Well, it's like Gil Haran Scott. You know that like Whitey's on the moon.
No.
You don't know that poem?
No.
And it's like something like...
Wait, that sounds familiar now that you just mentioned that lady.
It's like, my sister, is on welfare in a rat-infested, like, whatever tenement, but Whitey's on the moon.
That's interesting.
It was like a whole, like, thing, how, like, we've got all this money to spend. And listen, like, you can make the argument, but I would argue, like, the problem isn't because we went to the moon. The problem is because we were in Vietnam and Korea before then. You know what I mean? And like all that. That's the problem. Let's get money out of the military-industrial complex to help your fucking sister.
But
we don't need to pull money out of NASA.
But it could still be said.
Nah, man. Don't play devil's advocate because you know you agree with me, motherfucker.
No, I agree.
There's not a bigger nerd, space nerd than you. How many shuttle launches have you seen?
Live or on TV? Live. Like in person?
Yes.
I've only seen 2. I've been there for...
Only 2. That's 2 more than almost every other human being on the planet.
I've been there for 4, but they got scrubbed.
Right.
I got to see the last launch and the second,
right.
third to last.
So
launch.
don't act like fucking what I was saying was out of line.
No, I'm not saying it's out of line.
Now, what are you saying?
What I'm about to say, if you shut the fuck up,
what?
Is the poem could still hold true today. Maybe because Whitey ain't on the moon, but Whitey's other places. That,
right.
Maybe.
Where is Whitey?
Everywhere.
Yeah.
You can't even see. He's so high up now, you can't even see him.
Word.
That's how high he is.
And they're listening, too.
And they ain't listening to us.
Whitey's always listening.
They're hoping we start a holy war amongst poor people.
Yeah.
So they can
Well,
keep
that
going
wouldn't
to the
be a
bank.
holy war. It would be an economic war.
Yeah, but it'd be guised as a holy war.
That's the thing, man. We never talk about economics. It's always like race.
You want to talk about
It's
something?
never
You want
economics.
to talk about something we don't have?
I'm just saying, like people when people are like, black kids, when they compare black kids to white kids' performance on standardized tests, the real issue isn't black versus white. It's class, it's upper class versus middle class versus lower class. Because upper class black kids do just as well on standardized tests as upper class white kids.
You've read stats on that. That's to back that up. That's a truth, or like
it's a 100% verifiable. Yes, truth.
So you're saying equal levels of money gets equal levels of education, regardless of skin color?
Sure. There's also studies that poverty leads to a form of I don't want to say brain damage, but it leads to traumas that imprint on the brain and actually cause like the brain to form, like the actual brain structure forms in different ways from people who don't live in poverty because their brain has to focus on like survival. You know what I mean? And so it stops focusing on like these other things that people who don't live in poverty, they can focus on. So it's kind of like when we were a hunter-gatherer society, our entire focus was on finding food. We had to find food. Then when we learned to farm, we stopped and there was a surplus of food. And because we had a surplus of food, it led to specializations, right? Like you can chill and like play on your lyre, and like create like cool music that, I can like run around naked to while drinking wine and like, dancing through the woods. Another guy could like, perfect architecture, so a surplus of food allowed us to turn into like civilization.
You're hanging out with a guy that's like half goat on the bottom.
Right.
With a flask.
Yeah, man. Make America Mesopotamia again.
Mesopotamia, where is that?
That's basically Iraq, where the Euphrates and the Tigris River are.
I think Roger Waters sang about those rivers coming
It's the
together.
Fertile Crescent.
Right.
Mesopotamia means the land between two rivers.
Is that so therefore it was named Mesopotamia, like everything else in the Bible?
Euphrates and the Tigris River.
Right, I know.
And that land was called Mesopotamia, the land between two rivers.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Fertile Crescent was actually a whole thing that extended, like from where modern day Iraq is through Syria.
You know what you sound like?
That's why most Muslim flags, if you notice, they have the crescent moon. Right.
You know what you sound like? Trying to explain to somebody the difference between England, Great Britain, the UK, the British Isles, and the British Islands.
Well, that's easy.
Yeah, it's just easy. Who cares? This is different levels they're conquering and their colonization.
Britain is 3 countries: Scotland, England, and
Wales.
Wales, correct. The United Kingdom are those 3 plus Northern Ireland.
Okay.
That's it.
But then you have the UK islands, which includes all of Ireland. And then you have the UK Isles, the Isles of UK. Which
So
includes,
Ireland is not part of the United Kingdom.
No, it's part of the British Islands, though. I believe. Then the British Isles include the Isle of Man, the
Isle of Wight, or
there's
White.
like
The Isle of
there's like
Wight.
3 different islands.
Yeah.
Who gives a shit?
Yeah, no one gives a fuck about those people.
You know what? Let me ask the Queen. Oh,
by the way,
do that.
did you see the Queen? So they came out with the cause of death. Do you know what the cause of death?
COVID.
No, so it was hilarious.
So hospitals can get paid.
So it said, cause of death was old age.
Okay.
But how fucking hilarious would it have been if cause of death was electrocution from malfunctioning vibrator? Like if the Queen was like, masturbating with a vibrator and it malfunctioned and it electrocuted her. You don't think that's funny?
Hang on. I don't think that would be funny. I think it would be funny if the ME just put that on there. Just to see if anybody's reading it.
I mean, I think it would be funny if she was actually doing it and died from electrocuting herself with a vibrator.
And if you got to go.
Well, listen, I guess we have different senses of humor.
Yeah. So
mine is funny and yours is not.
So I just want I put a sidebar here in my notes here, just so in
Great.
this chapter, they discuss several different offerings.
Go ahead.
The fire offerings.
Well,
the
wait,
grain
no.
offerings.
It starts with the daily offerings.
Oh, damn, it's daily offering. Well, that's not an offering.
Then it goes to Sabbath offerings.
Yes, which is the regular offerings plus some more.
Monthly offerings.
Regular offerings plus some more.
Offerings at Passover.
Regular offerings plus some more minus work. No working.
Offerings at the Festival of Weeks.
Regular offerings plus no working, though.
And then that gets us to Numbers 29, which is offerings at the Festival of Trumpets.
I think this is cheap. Why start a new chapter and start it off with offerings of the Festival of Trumpets? Like, why not keep them all in one chapter?
Maybe they're getting paid by the chapter.
Yeah, that sounds like bullshit. So, this is funny. You'll do no work during the offerings of the Festival of Trumpets because you're to blow trumpets. Everyone's got to blow trumpets?
So you can't work?
Do you think trumpets has to take a lot of Viagra? Everybody's got to blow them?
Maybe it's metaphorical trumpets.
Oh, or maybe real instrument trumpets?
Offerings on the Day of Atonement.
No work.
Offerings at the Festival of Booths.
No work, but then 7 days, the offerings are slightly different, and they go into excruciating fucking detail.
So much detail. Yeah, this is like the longest section. On the first day, on the second day, on the third day, on this day, on that day. And that gets us to Numbers 30.
Before we do that, I just want to break it down.
Sure.
So there's fire offerings, grain offerings, burnt offerings, drink offerings, sin offerings, votive offerings, and well-being offerings. The only thing I did not see was the elevation offerings.
I don't even know what that is.
When they hold it up to the camera?
The elevation offerings.
Yeah, the fucking elevation offerings.
To let him see?
Yeah.
I don't remember that. That was a thing, the elevation offerings?
Yes.
All right.
Yes. There's probably more, but so we covered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 different offerings in this chapter.
Well, in fairness, he is forgetful. He doesn't always remember everything. Let's not forget that we had Genesis 1 and then Genesis 2, where he had to amend some things or add some
Should
things.
have been Genesis Redux. Oh,
Yeah.
it's Redux, by the way. Remember we were debating whether it was redo or Redux,
Mm-hmm.
and you were pretty sure it was Redux. It wasn't French.
Mm-hmm.
It's Redux.
Okay.
I went to dictionary.com and you click on the speaker and it says it for you.
Okay.
Redux.
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 Yeah, not redo.
Redux.
So that gets us to Numbers 30, vows made by women. So I found this part a little interesting because it starts off, then Moses said to the heads of the tribes of the Israelites, this is what the Lord has commanded. Now I found that unusual because almost every other chapter since Leviticus, it starts off with the Lord telling Moses what to tell people. This seems like Moses is going kind of off script and is like, yo, here's what the Lord told me, but it doesn't say that the Lord told him. So now I'm dubious as to whether or not the Lord really did tell him this.
Oh, shoot. That's interesting because as we go further on, we're going to see it's kind of misogynistic, like the shit Moses lays down. And in the previous episode, the women came to God and said, we don't have a son, so why do we lose our name? And God was like, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
So maybe Yahweh's not a misogynist, but Moses is, so he's going off script.
I'm going to say they're all fucking misogynists. Stop being such a fucking Yahweh apologist constantly. So, Moses tells people, like, he tells the men, like, if you, like, promise something, you got to fucking carry out that promise. Your promise,
your word is your
bond.
Your
word is as good as right. Everything.
Word life, yo.
Then he gets to the women. Okay? Now, for the women, for the most part, it's the same thing.
Right.
If you make a promise,
right,
you have to keep it. But there's some caveats to that. For example, go ahead, Scott. What's the first example?
Well, if you're young and you're living in your father's house, which
even if you're old.
Yeah, if you're living in your father's house,
you're not married,
you can make all the promises you want.
Yeah.
Your father hears it, he can kibosh that.
Yeah. If you make a promise, right, that your dad doesn't like, he can put an end to that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
What would be an example of a promise a young maiden can possibly make that her dad can,
I promise.
If I get like a nice Rolex watch on my wrist, I will give you anal, every Sunday for the next month.
I don't think that's a good example.
Why not?
Because I think even back then, something the daughter and the boyfriend would never say, let the father hear. Like, so he could never, kibosh that one.
Okay.
It's got to be something different. Like I'll go meet you at the movies. We'll go to the movies tonight.
Okay.
Or something.
So
I'll give you my heart forever.
All right, but certainly once she moves out of her house, out of her dad's house, if she makes a promise, she can be responsible for that promise, right?
Unless she's moving out because she got married.
Oh, because then she's got a husband.
Then she's got a husband.
And then the husband can put a kibosh on the promise.
And don't some women call their husbands daddy?
Well, yes. I mean, all my women call me dad.
Which is kind of weird, though. It's kind of weird.
Why is that?
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that? Because it's weird. Yeah, it's like Mike Pence.
They're all looking for daddy.
Mike Pence calls his wife mother, right?
Oh, that is creepy.
Right? It's super creepy.
That's creepy. Yeah.
Yeah. So wait, how often did women in this time period move out of their father's house before getting married? I don't see like a bunch of them getting together like Sex in the Citying it.
I think they just stay with their dads until they get married, right?
And that's why they're almost like paying people to take their women, right? The dowries.
Yeah.
Like, please take my daughter. She's driving me nuts.
Well, it's not that they're driving you nuts. It's like you're expanding resources on an extra mouth to feed. You know. Yeah. You're already like living in the wilderness. You just want somebody to take her.
So now.
By the way, I don't think that's discussed enough. I think that's glossed over.
The dowries?
I think looking back, like when people discuss like the Bible, right? Mm-hmm. Like I knew about the Garden of Eden story. I knew about like Noah's Ark, right? I knew about them being enslaved in Egypt, and I knew about them escaping Egypt, and I did know about like, how they wander around like the desert. But I feel like that part was like really sort of like glossed over. It's like, like because like details about like Noah's Ark. You knew like two animals, and you knew like, you knew about like Egypt and like, the firstborn son and like all. But you didn't really like the whole wandering in the desert part. Like now that we're reading it, it's not just wandering in the desert. It's being swallowed up by the desert. You know what I mean? It's like there's like a whole like thing that's going on in the wilderness. I keep saying desert, but it's more like wilderness. And like that doesn't really get talked about. Like Yahweh is fucking with almost 1 million people because he didn't like the way Moses spoke, or he liked that they had the nerve to complain that they're thirsty and hungry in the wilderness.
I can understand them bowing to other gods, so you'd feel the need to shove a spear up 24,000 anuses. I understand that. That's understandable.
Oh, that's another thing that they didn't bring up. Right, they didn't bring up What do you call that again when you do that? You
Impalement.
Impalement.
Yeah.
Yes, they bring it. No one says that. Oh, yes, and then the Israelites wandered the desert for 40 years, except the 24,000 that got impaled.
And you know what? Here we go. Because I did my Ancestry.com. I won't get into it right now, but I found out my first ancestor with my last name came to America from Transylvania, Romania. And I didn't even know that was a real place, to be honest with you, until like 5 years ago.
Transylvania.
So that was like blah, 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 blah.
Well, it's Romania.
Yeah, well, whatever.
But you knew Romania existed.
Yeah, of course. And I know of Dracula, Vlad the Impaler.
Yeah.
So how many people do you think Vlad impaled? Like, he used to keep this shit on the way to his castle. Like, you'd see the people impaled. How many people do you think he fucking impaled? 10 in his lifetime? 20? Maybe 100?
Well, he commanded that Turks be impaled, probably. Because
Okay.
I think like everything was against the Turks.
Do you think Vlad the Impaler impaled 24,000 plus? Do you think he got that to that level of impalement?
No.
Exactly. So why are we not talking about Yahweh the Impaler?
We are.
God the Impaler. How come he
that's-
doesn't have that title?
Well, the
Lord the Impaler.
The longest journey starts with what? A step or
Yeah.
so this is the step. This podcast is like one step.
Oh, we're gonna start.
I mean,
I'm not saying Vlad the Impaler was a good guy, but I'm saying why is he the Impaler?
I'm just saying.
Do you know anybody else the Impaler with that title?
Well, yes, Yahweh. Now
Yeah,
we're gonna get that shit
yeah.
trending on. Yo, those of you that are listening, let's get that trending on Twitter.
Yahweh the Impaler.
Yahweh the Impaler.
How do I do that if I
Yahweh.
want to, like, if I send out a tweet, how do I get that to trend?
You just hashtag it, and then if people start picking it up,
Yahweh the Impaler.
yeah,
Yeah.
you got to be an influencer. You're not an influencer.
No, that's your job, man.
I'm not an influencer.
You influence my fucking mood every time you come over.
Yeah,
Not usually in a good way either.
that doesn't count.
Yo, it's Yahweh in good way. In bad way. You're bad way.
All right. So these bitches, they
I have to stop you again.
yeah.
I have to, like, virtue signal every time you do that.
Why?
Yo, why you got to call them bitches, man?
Because it's provocative, and I know it's going to get a reaction out of you and out of maybe other people. So that's what I do.
All 4 women that listen to this podcast.
I'm a provocateur. Yes, I'm an iconoclast.
Yeah, I had that once.
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 All right. Are we going to get to the war against Midian then?
No, we haven't. gotten
Really?
back
You
to
still
it.
have more to say about the vows
Well, we haven't
made
really
by
said
women.
it. Yeah, like once you're married, you're a woman. You're married. If you make a promise, your husband hears it. He can shut that down.
Mm-hmm.
If he doesn't shut it down,
Oh, kind of like one of those pregnancies, right? Like if a woman gets raped, and she doesn't want to get pregnant, she could just shut that down.
who said that, by the way?
That was like a senator. Or
I had a meme. It
that
showed a
said
bunch
it.
of senators that said like rape stuff. Like
It was like years ago. Like he said, their body can just shut it down.
they can shut it down. I don't know if that's a vow though. But if they make a vow and their husband hears it, they go, no, don't listen to her.
Yeah.
Right? And then if he lets it go on, and he doesn't, he can kibosh it on any day. He doesn't have to do it the first day. But if he lets it go on and then he goes, you can't do it, you incur her guilt. What the fuck does that mean?
That means that it's now passed on to you. So like if you don't stop her from like this stupid vow that this woman made and she doesn't carry it through or whatever, like
So if she promises 4 chickens and you don't stop it and you let it go on,
and then
you
doesn't
decide to stop it, you have to give up the 4 chickens kind of
Yeah,
thing?
yeah.
All right. That's fine. Yeah, but I think the wording in this, they refer to a woman's vow that a man disavows as thoughtless utterances of her lips.
Yeah. She's
Like basically stupid shit
Yeah,
coming
she's
out of her
stupid.
mouth.
Well, she's a woman.
It's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous thing to say.
Well, I mean that's your opinion.
Yeah, I guess.
That's obviously not the opinion of the Bible or the people that endorse the Bible.
So, you know what? Anybody who has a problem with the way men treat women and they claim to be Bible thumpers, you got to know where it's coming
Well,
from.
I mean, here's the real question. Were women stupid back then and somehow like men have made them like smarter? Or are women still stupid today and have to still be treated the way they were back then?
No. I think what happens is women both then and now are easily equal to men and probably superior in a lot of ways. And I say this because why would
I don't think you understand my point.
All right, let's say it again then. Maybe I didn't understand it.
I mean, we're reading the Bible.
Right.
And people follow the Bible in this country.
Right.
It's a book that is in every church and it's praised, right?
Right.
Based on what I'm reading, the women of the Bible were fucking idiots. I mean, it says so right there, right? It says the words. You just said the words, right? They're idiots. And the words are inspired by Yahweh himself. Yahweh inspired these words to be written. So my question now is, were women always stupid and continue to be stupid, or have men helped smarten them up? Which is it? Or
Neither.
Is it all bullshit?
It's neither. One, you say this is coming from Yahweh, but you started off saying this. Well, Yahweh never mentioned this shit. This came from Moses.
But the word of the Bible is inspired by Yahweh.
Fine. So we think under further analysis, Moses came up with this shit, not Yahweh. But what I'm going to say this is, I think women are just as smart, if not smarter. The men know this. So the men are in power because they're bigger and stronger, either in numbers or in physical stature, and they reign dominant over the women. And they purposely keep them down because they know what would happen if they were equals.
You understand, I'm not calling women stupid, right?
I know you are.
You know I am what?
Why are you calling women stupid, man?
No, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I know what you're saying.
Because it seems like your argument isn't along that same thread of thought.
Well, because you also said men making women smarter.
I'm speaking from the point of view of someone who is a believer of the Bible.
Yeah, I didn't really take it that way. You're right.
Well, I said it like that 4 times.
Yeah, but I wasn't really, I was trying to formulate arguments.
Right. You're just playing like devil's advocate without like really considering my point.
So let me. So you think the guy?
I think we should just move on at this point.
No, I think this is a big point. So you think that the Bible thumper living in the trailer that comes home, where's my fucking dinner, woman? Blah 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 blah. Does he think a woman's stupid?
I think it's not unreasonable to think that a lot of misogyny, especially in Christian Judeo fucking societies, comes from like the depiction of women in the Bible. At the very least, that seeps in on a subconscious level from a young age. Like, look at these fucking women. Like, starting with Eve, this piece of shit who was deceived by a fucking serpent, right? And then she made fucking Adam, and then fucking, like everything. Like, and the only reason the flood had to happen was because women were spreading their legs for like giants, like Nephilim were fucking knocking up these bitches. And so God had to like eliminate like the whole fucking planet. And then you had Sodom, right? And then that fucking dumb bitch that turned around and fucking then the daughters raped their fucking... the entire Bible is filled with misogyny. And fucking... whether or not it says misogyny, it's got to like seep into the people who go to church on Sundays.
But what I don't understand, why don't they, if they read the text, they can see, except for the woman turning around and getting turned to salt, that was just human nature to see what's going on. But the women are punished because the men are weak. Like Eve said, you want this fruit? He could have said no.
Yeah.
The Sodom and Gomorrahites said, you want this ass? They could have said no. Like all these things, the last event in Pura where 24,000 people got murdered, the women deceived the men. How did they deceive the men? They offered them up some ass. And the men took it. Why are the women blamed for everything the men's
right?
weakness?
They're not even deceiving them. They're like, hey, you want some of this?
Yeah, of course they want some of this.
And I don't think the women were doing it like Jehovah Witnesses to like recruit like people. I think they were just like, it's like in a war. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like people hook up in a war. They meet. They hook up. They have sex. And then the men wanted to continue to have sex. And they're like, yo, tell me about like this God that you're into, And then before you know it, like... No. So again, I think that you should open up a ministry. So you would teach the Bible very differently from how it's being taught.
Yeah.
So that's the point. The point, again, is when we started this, we were talking about interpretation. There's many ways that you can, like, teach these stories. And what's the point of view that you're... So your point of view is, look at these stupid men. No one's forcing them. They're like, they're thinking with their dicks, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. But 90% of churchgoers aren't hearing that message.
Yeah.
They're hearing the message of, like, temptation of the flesh.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
These
Like,
prostitutes.
right. Let's not forget that woman that fucking, remember? She dressed like a prostitute. She had sex with, like, her father-in-law.
Yeah.
Right?
And he wanted to kill the prostitute.
Yeah. So it's like, how are you going to teach the story? So again, my point is, like, if you are a believer in this book, are women still stupid, or have men trained the dumb out of women? You know what I mean? You got to, like, this is something, if you believe in the Bible, you got to reckon with at this point.
Well, you don't have to reckon with it, because you just gloss over
You just
the parts
ignore
you
it.
don't
Yeah.
even
I mean,
care about.
that's sure.
All right, so that moves us on to Numbers 31. War against Midian. Now, I was taking notes when you came over because it was like a whole bunch of stuff, so I only got like a little bit into that, man. So you're going to have to kind of carry the heavy weight after I announce this.
Yeah.
The Lord says to Moses, avenge the Israelites on the Midianites, and then you'll be gathered to your people.
Mm-hmm.
Which means you're going to be put to death,
Yeah.
right? Like, we've determined that. So now Moses is going to, like, create an army and, like, go to war against the Midianites. Why?
I mean, I don't want to gloss over what you just said as if it was just fact. So the Lord spoke to Moses saying, avenge the Israelites on the Midianites. Afterward, you shall be gathered to your people. So you're saying that is him heralding Moses' death?
Absolutely. Isn't that what that means? Isn't that what it
I
came
don't
to?
know. Honestly, I don't
We had
know
this
what that means.
discussion last
Gathered
time.
to your people. Why is that death?
I think that's what it means. I don't know why I think that, but I think that's what it means.
So, in any event, Moses gathers up like 12,000 people. He gets like 1,000 people from each tribe.
Yeah.
Then they kill all the kings of Midian, Evi, Rechem, Zur, Hur, and Reba.
Oh, shit, Reba's in it?
Yeah, Reba, she's, or he. So these are the 5 kings of Midian. They get taken out.
Well, all right, conscripted. Isn't conscription usually like a
Draft.
It's a draft, right? It's not a voluntary call.
That's what's going on in Russia right now.
Right,
People are
right.
freaking the fuck out.
I think 24,000 got out.
It's crazy.
So it was a number that made me think of our Bible podcast.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Oh, no, it was 240,000 people left.
So in Numbers 31, verse 9.
Wait, you're forgetting. You know why they did this? Because Phineas went to war, too. Phineas was the dude.
Oh,
that saw
yes.
the guy going
Phineas
into
was the
tent.
incel.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So the Israelites, according to Numbers, I'm sorry. So I'm forgetting that Phineas went to war. Yeah. Why
Then he
is
keep-
that? Why is that so like?
Well, because they're shouting out Phineas again. Like he's getting a special mention because he's a murdering fuck. It's like, Yo, remember that dude that just went into the tent and impaled
Right.
that woman
It's
and
like,
man?
right. It's like featuring Phineas, right? Like a rap credit. All right. So in Numbers 31, verse 9, the Israelites took the women of Midian and their little ones captive, and they took all their cattle, their flocks, and all their goods as booty.
Booty.
All their towns where they had settled and all their encampments they burned. But they took all the spoil and all the booty, both people and animals. Then they brought the captives and the booty and the spoils to Moses, to Eleazar the priest, and to the congregation of the Israelites at the camp on the plains of Moab by the Jordan at the Jericho. So now they've got all this booty, right? And this is what's weird now. So Moses...
Wait. So did they? When they said they brought it all to Moses, did they actually like line up and like brought all of the booty for Moses? Like, is that like a receiving line that lasted 3 years?
So I don't know. Yeah, I'm imagining like a warehouse at the end of like Raiders of the Lost Ark. You know, like there's just like this booty, a warehouse of booty, a silo. So Moses became angry with the officers of the army the commanders of thousands and the commanders of hundreds who had come from service in the war. Moses said to them, "Have you allowed all the women to live?"
He's a scumbag, this guy.
Yeah. So the problem is, again, he's hung up, I think, on the sex because those are the women, right, that the men were having sex with.
That acted treacherously.
Right. And
against the Lord.
And had the men turn to, like, you know, that god, Balaam, or whatever that god's name is, right? So he says, "Now, therefore, kill every male among the little ones, and kill every woman who has known a man by sleeping with him."
Okay, all right. Time out. See, when I said he let these women live, I'm like, you're punishing all the women, but now he's clarifying just the ones that slept with the men.
Yes.
All right, that's fair, if that's the rule.
But all the young girls who have not known a man by sleeping with him, keep alive for yourselves.
Okay, so kill every male among the little ones. That means every male child. Not every male adult that's among the little ones. He's talking about killing every male child.
Kill every male among the little ones. Because every man has already been killed.
Yes.
So every man. Right. So they've already killed all the men. Now the only ones that are left are the women that he's pissed off about. So he's saying, like, you know, kill these women that we've already had sex with. We don't need them anymore. Now let's groom the little girls.
That you're keeping for yourselves.
Yeah. He specifically says that.
Yeah, you're human trafficking these people.
Right.
This is disgusting, man.
And then he tells them, you know, like, if you've, like, killed someone or touched, like, a dead body, you got cooties, you got to, like, you know, cleanse yourself for, like, X amount of days in the desert.
Yeah,
so
your wood, your garments,
right.
all that
Perform
shit.
all those rituals, blah, 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 blah.
And I think pretty much everybody's got blood on their hands at this point because they've killed thousands and thousands and I mean, the 5 kingdoms. I mean, they don't have a number here, but this is probably one of the most disgusting parts we've read so far, I believe.
Really? Of all the other parts, this is what's
yeah,
disgusting.
because I think the numbers here, they purposely left the numbers out because they're they're that ridiculous.
Right.
They killed every man. Moses is like, you let these women live, kill all the ones that slept with men, and kill all the male children.
I mean, I feel like we've gone through this already. Like, I feel like the Israelites have already done this. Like,
this solidifies in my mind that these particular Israelites,
right?
I'm not speaking of anybody in the modern world.
I mean, look,
these people are garbage.
I don't think it's the Israelites. So I think this is like if the Moabs were to invade the Israelites, the same thing would have happened. You know what I mean?
But
like,
they didn't.
To the victor go the spoils.
And to victor goes the guilt.
So, all right. So now we've got, like, all this going on. And, of course, now it's time to divvy up the booty.
Yep.
So there's, like, donkeys and gold and this and that. And there's, like, this whole long section about, like, this is how it's going to get broken up. So, like, the soldiers that were involved in the wars, they get, like, a larger share than, let's say, just regular citizens, right? Like, this is the way it's going to work. So there were 12,000 soldiers. 50% is going to go to the soldiers, and 50% is going to go to the regular people. That's of the part that the people get. Yahweh gets his share, right?
All right, you got to kick it up.
So here's what's weird. Numbers 31, verse 40. The persons were 16,000. This is Yahweh's booty. The persons were 16,000, of which the Lord's tribute was 32 persons, so he got a certain percentage.
Okay.
Moses gave the tribute, the offering for the Lord, to Eleazar, the priest, as the Lord had commanded. Here's my question. So the Lord's tribute was 32 persons.
It's not a lot.
What does that mean?
It was...
what does that mean?
The persons were 16,000.
Mm-hmm.
That means that... Wait, you're right.
He gets 16 people or whatever it is. He gets 32 people.
Oh, wait.
What does that mean?
Wait, there was 16,000 people left alive?
Forget that. Forget that. It doesn't matter. He gets 32 people.
Okay.
What does that mean?
But I need more clarification. What are these 16,000 people? Who are these people? Survivors?
Little girls.
Okay, then he gets 32 of them.
Okay, what does he do with these little girls?
Traffics them out of a pizza shop.
Does he eat them?
Traffics them out of a pizza shop.
Does he use them as slave labor?
He's a fucking pedophile.
Well, he's an alien.
So you can't be a pedophile if you're an alien?
Do you think he's having like? Well, I don't know. I don't know how their sexual I don't know how his sexual organs work.
They're probably incompatible. Like any image we're seeing of him, if he's an alien, it's a hallucination.
Do you think like part of like the formula for fuel is like human like something? I don't know.
The blood? Maybe that's why you sent it to
killing? I don't know. Blood, just whatever. The protein. Who the fuck knows?
Maybe.
What happens to these 32 people? What does that mean that it's a tribute to him? Like, okay.
You didn't ask about the rams and the bulls and the lambs.
I don't give a fuck. So that shit could be eaten, whatever. That we know what happens. I get slaughtered. They have like a whole grate, right? Like where the blood drips through and then the pleasing odor for the Lord. All right. What the 32 people, what? They get brought to this tent, the tabernacle, and what? They go inside and then they disappear forever? Or like what happens?
I don't think we ever see them again.
I don't like that we don't know what happens.
Well, we don't know yet. We probably won't know because none of these stories ever come to a good conclusion.
And then basically there's like some exchange of like gold and like, you know, like they're basically collecting their victory spoils. And we learn of the 12,000 people that Moses had gathered to invade. Do you know how many died?
I don't. How many?
None. Everyone returned.
Whoa.
Yeah. So remember when God said that
sounds like some everybody.
That's like some Russian.
99%.
That's like Russian, right? Non-casualties in Ukraine.
That's good propaganda, man. Yeah. But you know what I like here? And you know, if we're such a Bible-thumping society, it appears that Israel takes care of their vets, though.
Yeah, I mean, they were given the spoils of the war.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, just like in America, right? When our vets come home, they get the best of the best.
I got to say, it's a disgrace.
It's a total disgrace.
It's a disgrace the way veterans are treated in this country.
Yep.
And
you know what the suicide rate among vets is?
No.
I don't either, but it's high, though. It's definitely high.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. It's like 10 a day or some astronomical number.
Yeah.
Like we lose more soldiers to suicide every day than we do like in our conflicts. Crazy.
We were talking about last week how cops have to be stupid.
No, you were talking about it.
So there was an article that I pulled up. It's the Connecticut Supreme Court actually ruled that civil service tests can in fact discriminate against, because someone like scored really high and was denied being a cop, so that person sued, and the Connecticut's Supreme Court said no, absolutely they can like keep you out of being a cop if you're too smart.
That's insane.
Yeah. So like I said, they don't want people who can like think critically. They just want people who can follow orders.
They're just, they're good guys.
Pull the trigger.
Good family guys. Good neighborhood guys.
You ever see Fury? It's a tank movie with Brad Pitt from World War II. It's a World War II tank movie.
No, I haven't seen that.
It keeps popping up in my YouTube algorithm, not the full movie, but clips from the movie. And it looks depressing as fuck, man.
Yeah, most good war movies are depressing as fuck.
Yeah, I don't want to watch that. I want to watch a happy war movie.
Yeah, that seems bad.
Like Top Secret.
There was a movie. I saw a movie a couple of years ago with Jake Gyllenhaal. He was a Marine. Jarhead. And that movie had no combat in it. He never saw combat in the entire movie, as far as I can remember. Yeah. Like he was always on the move to go get somewhere or something. There was like combat.
I don't remember the details of that movie. I remembered the concept was better than the execution.
Oh, okay. There was a concept there.
You know, it was a good movie if you ever have a chance to see it. If you haven't already, I think it's called Three Kings. It's Iraq.
George Clooney?
It's George Clooney.
It's a gold heist.
Yes.
Yeah, I heard it. I've never seen it.
It's like almost right after the war. It's Ice Cube, I think, is in it.
Nice.
George Clooney. I forgot who the third guy is.
Would Ice Cube, would that be that raging anti-Semite?
Yes. I mean, listen, he's an but Honestly, I assume everyone's an anti-Semite.
Well, of course you do. You've been taught that. Your whole
Well,
life.
it's not that I've been taught
It's
that.
victim culture.
My experience is
It's victim
most
culture.
people. Well,
It's like every liberal wants to tell every black person they're a victim.
It's 5,700 years of experience. It's like,
Are we counting these parts that we've read so far?
Are we counting which?
Because so far the death count on the Israelite side is much higher than anybody else's side. I mean, again, we're only seeing one person's point of view, I guess, from this book.
No, well, I mean, listen.
But these people in Canaan were minding their fucking business. As far as I can tell, Russ, as far as I can tell, these people in Canaan were minding their fucking business when these guys showed up.
Listen, I don't expect you to have any different point of view than that.
So I should ignore the text?
It's not surprising.
I should ignore the text.
No, I'm saying these aren't Jewish people. These are Israelites.
I didn't say anything about Jewish people.
I'm saying Jewish people.
But you said 5,700 years. That does not encompass this time period?
I said anti-Semites.
Yeah, but but then you said something about 5,700 years.
I don't fucking know when the clock starts. The fuck?
That's what I'm asking.
I speak for all Jews, man. This is what I'm talking. This is the kind of anti-Semitism that I'm talking about right here. It's terrible.
Yeah, we done with this episode?
I think so, man.
All right. I just spilled wine on myself. It took a while, though.
All right, man. I'm out of here.
Yeah, good.
Goodbye.